So it is, like I said earlier, it's New Year's resolution season.
Yeah.
So, and we have 8 people in the office trying to transform their bodies.
Yeah.
You train at a really cool gym.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, work with high-level athletes. But going back to your educational background, being a personal trainer, do you feel that more universities should take on personal training as a real accredited study, as opposed to you go online, you get your certification, and then you start training people?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough balance. I mean, it's the nature of the industry as a whole, I think, needs some more regulation. Because being a personal trainer means, if you just say I'm a personal trainer, like, Lord knows what that means, right? So, yeah, I mean, something needs to happen. And I think more than even, I don't know, I think one of the tough things is there's so much good information in so many different places that it'd be hard to ever like unify, like, this is the information a personal trainer needs to know. But I think it would be great if they had something like at university where you were required to have X amount of time working with people in person. Because that's the big difference, is like there's probably dozens of certifications that you could probably actually get done within a week, and you're a certified personal trainer. And even some of the best, the more, accredited ones.
NSCA.
A lot of them you don't even need to do anything in person, which for me is like, I mean, that's everything. That's the skill set, is what you're actually capable of getting someone's body to do and what's appropriate for that body. And you don't know that until someone actually walks in and presents to you what they have. So yeah, if there'd be something I think would be great, is if, again, that's why I liked, literally the thing at the University of Florida was like, you're less likely, the college age population is like the easiest population to work with. And even those people are still broken and have issues and all that kind of stuff. So I just think that's, from my opinion, from a client standpoint, people going in, people want a personal trainer. They want to know that they're doing the right thing. They want the accountability. And you're going to this person, and it could be someone that's got 20 years of great experience, great education, great results, or it could be someone that you don't know sometimes if they just got certified the other day. They've never actually worked with a person. It's like, here's a personal trainer. So from when I first started training, I mean, my clients knew when they were like, okay, well, I've only worked with college age. I kind of worked myself into an older demographic, and I was just really, people always knew what they were getting with me. So I think that's half the thing is, I think it would be great from a client standpoint to know exactly what you're paying for, know exactly what you're getting, and not just say, well, personal trainer can mean whatever it means.
Right. So what are some things that you would advise somebody when they're going into their local LA Fitness or 24-hour Fitness, Gold's Gym, and they sit down with a fitness professional and they say, I need a trainer, or the trainer suggests that they need them.
For sure.
How do you vet them?
Yeah, I mean, probably the best thing you can do is, at least, is a good start, is they should have like a testimonial or transformation book, essentially. So they've got a list of whether it doesn't even necessarily have to be the traditional before and afters, because I always liked it with, not everyone's going to have this drastic, like, I lost 70 pounds. Some people are just going to get in better shape, improve their life. They couldn't, they're coming off of a knee surgery, or they're just, were feeling horrible, or who knows what. There's a lot of stories aside from just what, the thing that always gets the most press is weight loss. But they should have some book of like a significant amount of testimonials of people saying, okay, here's either my transformation or here's my story. I always used to have with a client list, like, it was like, I had my clients that I said, if I really want, can I have people call you? So it was not like, essentially, references basically. And that's not a big thing in the industry, but I always thought that was great, because at the end of the day, for me, I knew it was like, that's where, once you start to build your clientele, that's where your best is from referrals. I mean, your clients that can actually sit and say, okay, here's his professionalism, here's his experience, here's how he is in the session, like, they sell you. So half of it was I'm sitting in front of a person, I'm like, well, it would be for their benefit, like, let's talk to somebody that's actually gone through everything that they're going to pay for. Like, let's talk to somebody that's been with me 3 months, 6 months, 3 years, so they can say, okay, like, these are all the questions, and talk to someone, hopefully, like, it was like, if your goal, if you specialize in weight loss, you should have a laundry list of hopefully weight loss clients that you've worked with that have had success. Because at the end of the day, like, I can base it on my experience with people, but I can't speak entirely to the same mindset of someone that's, that's 55 years old. They've been sedentary for 30 years, and they're coming in, like, they've got all these, aside from just physical things, but emotional things that they're going through and dealing with. If they can speak to somebody else that's gone through all that same stuff, it's going to, like, answer a lot of their questions and make them feel a lot better than me just saying, like, yeah, I can get you there, I can do this. So that's probably the thing that, because again, at the end of the day, credentials are nice. I always like when a trainer has more than a couple certifications, where it just shows that they're putting time and effort into their profession. But it's even tough to say, like, hey, look for this certification, look for that certification, because even some that you can go to in person, it's not, most of the time if you show up, you pass. I mean, it tends to produce better trainers that way, because it just shows their effort and their commitment. But I'd say probably the strongest thing to look for actual testimonials and transformations, and a little bit of a book. If a trainer doesn't have those, they either haven't produced them or they're too lazy to actually put together, in which case they probably don't take their business, that serious. So.
Sure, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, you work with people in person and online. Which do you prefer more?
I definitely prefer in person, so that's my passion, that's my skill set. I always say because everybody's kind of looking, I think the short answer is, what's on paper. Everyone's like, well, write me out the diet, like write me out the workout, write me out the, what's the best workout to get great chest, to get a great butt, to get great whatever. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's like, it's all about how you do those things. And even with, diet's kind of a separate conversation, but with training, my joke is most people come in and are like, okay, well, if they're going to come in, you got to start somewhere. So someone says, well, maybe their goal is total body, if they're trying to lose weight, or if it's body part specific, let's start with legs, or let's start with whatever their priority body part is. I always joke, like the first session for me, depending on the person, I've got my start point in mind, which could change depending on what they show me, like depending on a joint or a range of motion, like this exercise could be out the window, which I don't know until I work with them. Or most of the time, sometimes it's just that day is one, like maybe two exercises if I'm moving fast. So imagine if you're coming to me and like, if my rates seem ridiculous of how much they are, it's like, well, what are we paying for today on paper? Well, we paid for squats. Like, no, like, what are we paying for? We're like, we're paying for one exercise. And that might be all I get through with someone one day. It might be that one exercise. But I'm going to teach someone how to do that properly, and I'm going to teach them how to put an effort within that one specific exercise. And most people don't do that. I mean, imagine if you do 10 exercises horribly, what's the benefit of that? Or if you do 10 exercises at 70% effort, what's the benefit of that as well too, even aside from good form? So I love to work with somebody in person because I can get more out of sometimes one exercise than they've ever had before. If I get someone that's never squatted properly for their goal in the previous 10 years of training, and after one session, they know how to squat properly, they can take that with them for forever. And if I can actually teach them what's my definition of effort, how do we work hard where we're actually working hard, you're going past where you would want to go on your own and not injuring yourself. Like that's something that's an experience that someone's like, oh my gosh, I've never felt that before. All my muscles are just done, I'm exhausted, and I have no joint pain, no tendon pain, no whatever else. So that's the balance of, in my opinion, like the skill set, the knowledge of hopefully, okay, they've got this or they've got that, how do I work around that? And then at the end of the day, there's that buy-in too, so it's like trainers have this idea of like, okay, this is the right information, this is the perfect information, but at the end of the day, you're not working with robots, so sometimes, I mean, the person's always got to have the buy-in, they've got to understand why they're doing it, and sometimes I always say there could be this, on paper, this is 100%, this is the right plan, the right exercise, the right whatever, but for some reason they buy into or like something that's 90% right, that might be the right thing for them. At the end of the day, like if you don't like what you're doing to a certain degree, you're not going to stick with it. So yeah, there's a million things that go into that, because at the end of the day, the joke is everyone from very, very beginner to the highest level of athlete that I've worked with. It's again, most of the time, if I write on paper what's occurring, someone from the outside's like, well, what's the deal with that? Or sometimes I'll joke, sometimes I'll have like, we actually did one working set today by my definition, but it's like, I've never had someone ask for another set after that. They're like, they're done. I'm like, that's it. I've never worked that hard in my life.
It's a fun balance, though, because a lot of people think when they go see a trainer, it's like they're going to put me through a workout.
Yeah.
I better feel tired at the end of it.
Yeah.
If I'm not, then my trainer sucked and didn't do what its job was.
Yeah.
But the higher level trainers, I notice, like to your point, are trying to actually teach them something so they can walk out with something good.
Yeah.
So when somebody again, January's coming up, what are some of the big mistakes, though, that you're seeing all these people, because I mean, it's a rush right now. My gym's full of people that I know are going to be gone in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
What are you just noticing that people just are screwing up, and they've been screwing up on them year after year? These mistakes just keep being repeated.
Yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, like the most important thing is, sounds cliche, but like maybe the definition of it needs to be improved, is like consistency and sustainability. So I think a lot of people, like, because it's New Year's, they're like all in, and the whole thing is they train 5 days a week or 6 days a week, or they go right into this crazy program that they read or they bought or who knows what, where it's like, honestly, if someone could work out 2 days a week for the rest of their life, they're gonna be so much better off than like, 6 days in a row for 6 weeks, and then they miss a day and they feel bad, then they miss another day and they feel bad, and then because they feel like they're not successful at their program, then they just quit. So it's everyone, and then half of it's fueled by, we got shows like The Biggest Loser and stuff. I don't even know if that's still on. I don't know. But if that show is still on, it's like people losing 27 pounds in a week and stuff, where it's like, this is entertainment. I don't think I could ever have someone explain to me how that's healthy or how that's sustainable. Now, they've done a ton of follow-up on that show too, where those people just like, as soon as the show's done, like they're basically in a camp. Like if you can sustain this environment for the rest of your life, be in this camp with someone in your face for 24 hours a day that's controlling everything that you eat, like, so they go back into the real world and these people just blow back up. You know, so it's sustainable changes. So, you know, honestly, it sounds bad, but I'm like, people want to start 5 days a week. Like, just start with 3, just start with 2, you know, and the same as anything else, like in your life, if you don't schedule it, if you don't prioritize it, it's not going to happen. Most people scheduling 5 or 6 times a week it's impossible. I mean, people got family, kids, work, all that kind of stuff, you know. So start with, for sure, I can prioritize around these 2 days, and then even with that, I mean, this is where, whether it's with a trainer or on your own or whatever it is, like, learn how to do things right, and just build upon those. And that's honestly, that's a tougher thing for people to do, because again, sometimes it's like, do I trust my trainer? Do I trust my training partner? Do I trust this guy that I'm going into work with, and one of my buddies that just, hey, let's start together in January? But that's the thing, is I think if, like, again, if you're paying me a lot of money to, you know, do your program or to train with me or whatever it is, we're focusing on doing less but perfect, and then building upon that. So most people, if you're weight loss or whatever it is, you know, you'd want to do, in my opinion, a few exercises very, very well. So if it's total body, whether you're doing something like a simple push-pull lower body, is a great way to start. So you're doing a push exercise, a pull exercise, a lower body exercise. You're doing big movements that involve a lot of muscles. And in reality, if you can just learn to do those perfectly and repeatedly, that's the other reason people drop off too, is they get injured. You know, someone that's sedentary jumps into this crazy boot camp it's 47 exercises, all supersetted together. Everyone in the whole class is doing the same thing. Like, I would quit too. I don't, you know, you're gonna be falling apart half the time. You're like, yeah, you might be motivated, you might enjoy the culture and all those things, but if you're constantly breaking, I mean, no one wants that as well either.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk about a recomp, because we're doing a transformation challenge. You know, many people are signed up for the Redcon. Win Aaron's $10,000. Right?
Yeah.
You don't want to take 10 grand from Aaron.
Yep.
If I could do it, I would.
Yeah, right.
Can't enter. Sorry. You can either bulk, you can cut, or you can recomp.
Yeah.
Talk about, you know, everybody's for the most part trying to cut up right now.
Yeah.
But talk about bulking.
Yeah.
Is it really ever a good idea, or is it just a slippery slope to get fat?
So there's 2 sides on this. So there's the good answer that any trainer will always give is it depends, which means I'm not giving you a solid answer. Yeah. But so here's the thing is, so, you know, there's for sure some things I can say that, you know, on paper where it's like, basically, you know, your body can only do so much with so much. So the idea of, like, you're just eating in whatever this excessive amount of calories is for so much, you can only synthesize so much protein, you can only use so many carbohydrates. So the idea is, long term, you're going in the deep end too long. Taking in more food than your body can use does things detrimental for your hormones, and accumulating more body fat than you need does things detrimental for your hormones, and the hormones that you want for putting on muscle and dropping body fat, and for putting on muscle. You know, so it's basically, as you start to keep pushing too far in extreme excess, eventually the hormones that you need for putting on more muscle start to move the wrong direction. So that's the short version, where, you know, on paper, you know, the old school bulk, you know, if I'm maintaining at 3,000 calories and eating 6,000 calories a day, on paper doesn't work long term, or can, you know, it can do damage that you're gonna have to work backwards for once you kind of get to, like, okay, you put on 40 pounds, you know, but 35 of it was fat. Was that worth 5 pounds? So
the stress it puts in your body.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, and so and then again, where your hormones are at and all those things 40 pounds later might be worse than when you started as well too. So like, all right, I'm gonna strip off this 35 pounds of fat with worse hormones than you were to start, and you might end up losing your 40 pounds to be exactly where you were started in the first place. So that's the one extreme end, where, you know, jumping in the deep end is probably not great. The other side of that, the meathead side of me, and that thing of what actually produces results, honestly, almost every single person that I know that's put on a significant amount of muscle has their stories of how they've done that. But at some point in time, I think actually, because most of the time people that do it well, actually long term, even though they make some mistakes, like, most people don't know, like, it's horrible to eat a lot. Like, it's a lot of people like, oh, I want to bulk because it's fun. Anyone that's actually successfully bulked for a long period of time, like, you get sick of eating. And honestly, it's a chore and it's a task, and some people aren't willing to actually do that and commit at that level. So there's something, just because I've seen so many people do it successfully, even if they did kind of end up somewhere where it's like, yeah, I kind of went over a little bit too far and they have to work backwards a little bit. Something about mentally jumping in the deep end and committing to, like, I'm actually going to do this for however long I got to do it. I've just seen a lot of people actually produce results that way as well too. So, you know, if I could go back and I could tell myself, because I did that, you know, I think I put on the most my freshman year of college. I think I put on maybe like 35 pounds in 8 months, and maybe 15 or 20 of it was muscle, which is pretty darn good. That's the most muscle I've probably ever put on in a short period of time. But like when I look at myself at the end, I actually see pictures of them. Like I look like a fucking refrigerator. Like I just look fat.
Yeah.
But I was like bigger, but I was like fat. And I remember, I don't remember what point in time it was. I think I looked at a picture. I was like, man, I don't even look like I work out. I may technically be 35 pounds heavier, but I had anything that's resembled aesthetics is just gone. I just look straight up and down and stupid. So I would tell myself if I could do it in the perfect world, same as anything else, same as like if you're cutting and you want to be leaner sustainably, you know, it's small margins, you know, so it's, you just got to do things structured. Most people when they bulk, they just try and eat everything, you know, so even if you can get away with, you know, 1,000, 1,500, even 2,000 calories of excess, it just needs to be consistent. You have to have some measurable tracking of like, you know, am I making progress? Some sort of measure, whether it's with pictures, whether gym progress, where it's like if you're just eating all this extra stuff and you just look at pictures or look at the scale and you're like, yes, I consistently look fatter, I'm not actually getting any stronger in the gym, that's probably not beneficial.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I was going to say, one of the things, some of the guys in the office, they'll start to bulk.
Yeah.
3 or 4 weeks, and they'll feel fat.
Yeah.
And they'll say, I think I should cut.
Yeah.
They're constantly up and down.
Yeah.
And I know one category in the transformation challenge is the recomp.
Yeah.
Is that just a recipe for always spinning your wheels?
Yeah. You know, I don't know. I mean, I think it's whatever you're going to do. I think it's good to just set some time frames and stick with it. So I mean, obviously, whoever made up the cool term of like cyclical bulk, I mean, that just sounds cool, so it's something to do. But I think it's a good idea, to be honest. I mean, that's for most people now, especially someone that's been doing it for a little bit of a longer period of time. I honestly do like a cyclical bulk, but you gotta kind of set parameters ahead of time, and don't make adjustments based on short periods of time. Where it's like you said, at the end of the day, like, I mean, if you can literally in a period of time, you know, put on 5 pounds and 3 of it's muscle, it's worth it. I mean, I'd take 2 pounds of fat for 3 pounds of muscle, because obviously you can lose fat a lot faster than it takes to put on muscle. But then you have that problem where it said, like, someone's 3 weeks into something that should last 6 weeks, and like, oh, I feel fat. And it's like, you know, so there's of course this trade-off where I think whatever you're going to do, set a time frame, stick with it. And then if you need to make adjustments, make it afterwards. So if you're doing like a cyclical bulk of 6 weeks of bulk, 2 weeks of cut, whatever your time frames may be, don't make adjustments till it's done. So maybe next go around, you're like, okay, well, either I'm gonna do 6 weeks, but I'm gonna only have this much excess calories. Instead of 1,500, I'll try 1,000. Or instead of going for 6 weeks, you know, I really, that last week I was just getting fat, I wasn't making any progress in the gym, maybe I'll try 5 weeks or whatever it is, that type of thing. So, you know, both goals, whether you're bulking, you're doing like more of a recomp, or you're cutting, I think it's important to not make adjustments too frequently, and not make adjustments based on, like, again, just short-term stuff, because it's really easy. Like when everybody cuts too, they do the same thing. You know, you cut for a week and you're like, oh, I'm getting small. Yeah, I got to bulk back up. You know, so it's to a certain extent you got to kind of stick with it, and know that, because I think everyone that works out has some degree of, you know, image issues, you know, with how they perceive themselves and look in the mirror. You can't let that kind of stuff, you know, persuade you too much. So.
Yeah.